Hello. In the last lesson, we learned how to implement these two functions, SumArray and countEven. In this new lesson, we're going to learn how to implement three functions. The first function is going to be called findMax. That's going to take an array as an input and return the maximum value in the array. And the second function is going to be called ReverseArray. That's going to take an array as an input and revert the array and gives it back as a result. And the last function we're going to implement is going to be called filterEven. That's going to take an array as an input and filter the even numbers in the array and returns it. So here it's going to be just 0, 4, 2, and 6. That's going to be returned. So let's get started. The first function we're going to implement is going to be called findMax. So let's create it. It's called function findMax, which is going to take an array in the input and it needs to return the maximum value. So let's create a variable called max that's going to represent this returned value, and we're going to initialize it by the first element in the array. Let's return it for now. The idea of finding the maximum in the array is to loop into the array element by element from the beginning, and each time compare each element to the maximum, and if it is bigger than the maximum, we're going to update the maximum value with the new value of the element. So we're going to loop into the array element by element, and each time we need to compare the element that we are in. If it is bigger than max, then we update max. It's going to take the new value of element, and at the end we return max. The second function we're going to implement is going to be called ReverseArray. So let's create this function. It's going to take an array in the input, and we need to return the ReverseArray in the output. So let's create a variable that represents that. It's going to be called const result, for example, and it's going to be initialized with an empty array. Let's return it as for now. And the idea of implementing this function is to loop into this array in a reverse way. So from the end and go back till we arrive to the first element. So here we started from the beginning element by element, but here we need to start from the end and go back all the way till the end. In order to do that, we're gonna use the syntax. So we're gonna do a for, and we're gonna create an index that's gonna be initialized with array length minus 1. I'm gonna explain to you guys this in a second. So we're gonna end when I is equal to 0, and each time we're gonna decrement the value of I. So basically we need an index of the last elements. Each element has an index which starts by 0, 1 till the end, and the last element is the length of the array minus 1. So this is why I initialized I, which is an index pointing to each element, by array length minus 1. And we need to loop until we go to the first element. The first element index is 0, so this is the condition to finish. And each time we need to decrement the value of I by 1. So this is why I did this. So each time we have an index somewhere, we need to grab the element by its index. So let's do that. We're gonna do const element we're gonna take it from array by the index I, and each time we have the element, we need to add it to result. So we're gonna do result push the elements, and now we have our implementation. The last function we're gonna implement is gonna be called filterEven. So let's do the export even, and it's gonna take an array in the input. Okay. So the idea is we need to have an input array, and we need to loop into this array and get back with only even numbers in this array. So let's represent the returned value by this variable. I'm gonna call it results. I'm gonna initialize it by an empty array. Let's return result for now. And then we need to loop element by element. So let's do that for element of array. So this means we're gonna loop element by element in the array. So we're gonna start by the first, second till the end. And each time we need to see if this element is even. So let's do that verification. So we're gonna do elements by 2. So this means, guys, that we are dividing elements by 2, and the rest of this operation, if it's 0, then it's an even number. Otherwise, it's not an even number. So if it is an even number, we need to add it to results. So we do results.push element. Now we finished the implementation of all our functions. Let's try our test to see if it's successful. Run tests, and we can see that all our tests are successful. They represent these. So these are the tests that we just run, and they are all successful. So the last thing I need, guys, to discuss in this video is the performance of our implementations. So all these 3 functions that we have implemented, they require to loop into the arrays from the beginning till the end, which basically means the performance is going to depend on how many elements we have in the array. And since we are looping from the beginning till the end in all of them, so the performance of these algorithms is big O of n, and n represent the length of these arrays. Let's save all these changes. So all these changes, they are in my GitHub repository. I'm gonna put in the description the link to these changes and the solution. I hope that you learned something today, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more coming videos. Bye bye.